It's bothering me.
And we're live. We're live. Ben, you may want to turn the fan off. It's kind of unless it's real steamy in there.
Unless it's real hot.
Visually, it's a little.
I turned it off.
Overwhelming.
No,
I don't think the audio is bad. I think audio is good across the board. Generally speaking, maybe a little echo. So if you're not chatting, don't be afraid to hit the mute button. But I think overall the audio is strong right now. Okay, I am going to take this and I'm going to put it in our Discord in case there's any cappers that want to listen in. And then I'm going to post your links in the replies as well. Already getting some love in the replies, which is exciting. But you guys should retweet as well.
Yeah, I will go retweet it right now.
Do you have a link that I can send to my Discord as well?
Absolutely.
Amazing. Is it just the link to Twitter?
Yes, it's the link to the live, the status. I'll post it in our little group text too.
Boom.
Amazing. We lost Ben.
No, I'm here. I'm just going to retweet it.
Love it. Take your time.
Pretty sharp first episode, Lou.
You were unbelievable.
Pretty
Recap it for the listeners at home as a little pre-show prologue of what they can expect.
Miami over Texas A&M. We kind of said that we thought Miami might make a little run. Well, first of all, Bama over Oklahoma. We were in a little bit of a disagreement there. I really, really liked Bama in that first spot. So that hit. Then Miami
Rub my
hit.
face in it some more, Dorm.
Then Ole Miss over Tulane. Said that was going to be a blowout. And then pretty much exactly called what would happen in the Oregon game. Said they were going to blow them out, and then JMU backdoor covered. Exactly what happened. And then we said that I wanted Oregon to sort of have a little bit of a down performance, so they would come out and just kick the shit out of Texas Tech, and there we go. I mean, can't script it any better than that.
You had the script, as they like to say in the business.
Yep.
I will say I was very confident when Oklahoma went out to a 17-0 lead against the Crimson Tide. I did the very mature thing. I didn't pull out my phone and text you and say, yeah, Bama looks great, man. And I'm glad I didn't, because you know what? It's 60 minutes of football. I was at the Rose Bowl. The fighting Indiana Hoosiers continue their world domination tour. We'll talk more about them later. But Dorm texted me, oh, man, this is an ass kicking. Going to be a big game next week. I said, Nick, there's a lot of football left. Not till 000s.
I think I sent you that at what, 28-3, 28-0, something like
There's
that.
a lot of football left. It is hard work to win a college football game. Respect the process. That was a pretty epic performance from Signetti and the boys, but they got a big one in Atlanta on Friday. All right, let's hop right into it. Let me hype up my two guests. I'm actually extremely excited for this particular episode of the DCTV experience. These are two very different but very sharp cappers and long tenured, highly accomplished DubClub partners. So let me hype up both quickly. Dorm is a frequent flyer on the show. He dominated his last edition of the college football playoff preview. Specialty, I would say college football, college hoops, NFL, 106.97 unit performance in 2025 on very low volume, I would say, 3 to 5 units deployed per day, more 3 than 5, I would say. Correct me if I'm wrong, come over the top. 9 of 11 days profitable over this holiday stretch and is really good at big game college football bowl stuff, having followed you for many years. So sweet spot is really sides and totals, which is very complimentary to Ben on the other side. So before I sing your praises anymore, Dorm, say hello to listeners at home. And how are you feeling amidst this very, very warm start to begin 2026?
What's up, everybody? Yeah, I mean, great end of 2025. We always crush bowl season. It just seems to get a little bit easier when you're getting more action on each game from the public. Last year, college football playoffs dominated. This year, we really, really good start. Still got to finish the job. But yeah, another great 2025. Looking to stay hot in 2026. And thank you for having me. Excited to dish out some winners on the show again.
Not only winning plays, a very generous promotional offer from Dorm Room Degenerates. $25 first week offer. I'm going to drop this in the comments. So if you're listening right now, stay listening because I'm going to be really sly. And from the DubClub account, drop this great promo offer in the replies. So thank you, Dorm, for making that available as part of the stream. And without further ado, let me introduce our second guest today out of the DFS Dojo outfit, another long-tenured, highly accomplished DubClub partner, extremely sharp, really comes at the world more on the player prop side of things, both daily fantasy and sportsbook. So you can see a ton of underdog prize picks, but also FanDuel, DraftKings. Doesn't play as much in the sides and totals world, but covers college football very extensively, covers NFL very extensively. So between these two people, I may even pick a couple winners by the end of the program. Ben, please say hello to listeners at home.
How's it going? Lewis, thanks for having me. Yeah, had a solid college football season. All player, or not, I wouldn't say all player props, but like probably 95% player props. I'm not a huge size guy or totals guy. And yeah, hit about 64% on the season at like average odds of like pure even, a lot of yards props. I don't really play much heavy juice at all. Probably the highest odds I took was like a -150. But yeah, definitely more on the prop side. The one thing I don't like about the smaller slates is there's less options. 2 games, you really only get so many players. So that's the unfortunate part about the playoffs. But at the same time, it's fun to kind of focus in and zero in on a lot of like schematic differences between the teams. So yeah, I'm excited for these games for sure.
There's some pros, there's some cons. One of the pros from my perspective is we get to devour the board, which is a ton of fun. Yeah. Let's hop right into it. We're going to cover both college football playoff and the NFL playoff as far as we can get. I want to start in the college game. Thursday night, we've got a big one out in Glendale, Arizona, between the Miami Hurricanes and the Ole Miss Rebels. Both of these teams won as dogs in the quarterfinals. Both of these teams have got good storyline, narrative, energy behind them. Miami, the team that's playing, both these teams are playing on borrowed time, right? Miami, a lot of people didn't think they were going to make the playoffs. Ole Miss, coach leaves them at the altar, and both have looked really impressive in both their playoff runs thus far, but the rubber is hitting the road. Line opened at Miami as a 3-point favorite. It's pretty close around there. It's a weird game with both teams traveling pretty far west. Dorm, let's start with you. You were very on Miami in the first round game against A&M. Are you still rolling with the Canes, or what did you see in the quarterfinals that maybe complicated that assessment?
Yeah. So first of all, I mean, we're seeing a lot of action come in on Miami, and I think that's just from beating Texas A&M, beating Ohio State. But I kind of think that Ohio State was a little bit of a paper tiger this year. I mean, everyone just sort of overestimated them. The offense really wasn't that good. I mean, they were in a game against Ohio University at halftime. Like they never really impressed all season. That offense wasn't fantastic, and the Miami defense exploited that. Now, don't get me wrong, they still had to go out there and win the game. Ohio State's fantastic defense. They still had to go out there and score points. 24 points is a good showing, 7 of them being defensively. But Carson Beck looked horrible again. Mark Fletcher's obviously a dog. They're going to have to run the ball really, really effectively against Ole Miss, because the difference between Ole Miss and Ohio State is that the Ole Miss offense is electric. I mean, Trinidad Chambliss, in my opinion, is the best quarterback in the country. He should have won the Heisman. And you have top 5 running back in the country with fantastic receivers. The only thing that worries me is the line moved a little bit from 3 to 3.5. Normally, I would like getting that extra half a point with Ole Miss. But in a game where both teams, like you said, are sort of playing on borrowed time, I love getting the plus 3.5. I mean, I like taking the better offense, the quarterback I trust more, the one that's going to make less mistakes and also make more electric plays downfield. And everyone's hyping up this Miami defense, but let's not forget that they got exposed against SMU and Louisville and a few other teams throughout the season as well. Fantastic up front, but they've been exposed and a few injuries late in that game. So I like Ole Miss in this one with the 3.5, a little bit of a sprinkle on the money line as well. I just think overall they're just the better team. And I'll take the 3.5 all day.
I'm going to hold my peace for a minute here. Let's head over to the dojo. Anything in the prop markets that's screaming at you? We've got a very explosive offense going against the defense with a ton of NFL talent. How do you attack a board like this where it's really strength on strength in such a hotly contested, highly traded game like this?
Yeah, it's difficult to, like, you're not going to come across major issues with lines, so you're kind of going to have to dig a lot deeper and figure out which players have more opportunity than you realize or less. And I'm not going to lie, I don't have a prop where I'm like, oh, this is fantastic for this game, but a player that I'm watching closely, I guess, is Daquan Wright, only because Wright typically is a nearly every down player for them. Between weeks 3 and 10, he was probably above 80% route share every game. He got hurt week 11. Then the next 3 weeks, his role was a bit smaller, likely still battling injuries. So they had Odom running a lot of routes. So his routes tanked pretty heavily. And then we finally saw them rebound a lot last week. And we saw Odom go back to more of a reserve role. And Georgia also put a ton of attention on him in, like, the defensive scheme and how they played him. So to me, 2.5 heavy plus money, I'm not sure I'm really playing it heavily yet at all or really playing in general. But if you're someone that's looking for a play in this game and you really want to DJ on something, I definitely do not mind playing Daquan Wright with receptions, given the fact that his routes are bumping up a lot and he was battling injuries. So it's a good sign that he's kind of past that. He had a good break between that week 16 Tulane game. So I'm intrigued by it. I'm intrigued by the route share. And again, when he was running full routes, he was probably hitting this line maybe 60-70%. You're getting it at plus 122 in a decent total, and they're underdogs, so you're looking at a decent completion setup. So honestly, if I had to give one, it's that for now. But yeah, it's interesting.
For all of you non-sickos who don't know the Ole Miss roster by heart, Daquan Wright, tight end for the Fighting Rebs. I actually love that you went this direction. Miami, when they got punched in the second half of the Ohio State game, what was working for the Buckeyes was really the tight end game, both the tight end insert and the run game, and they were getting them very involved in the pass game. I think with a front seven as dominant as Miami, the tight ends become a very important piece of the game plan.
Yeah.
And Ole Miss is really like spread them out, toss the ball sort of deal. I could see the tight end game becoming important against this specific defense. Dorm, you're on the Rebs. You're turncoating after you were very high on the Canes earlier. Talk to us about how you interpret that line movement, where it opened at 3, it's moving to 3.5. You like getting the extra half point. That's a critical number. But at the same point, it's telling you, like, we're getting some steam that people like the Canes. For our, like, casual bettors at home, walk them through your process in terms of how you reconcile all those different factors and come to a recommendation.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people look at line movement and just immediately say like, "Oh, this is the right side because it moved in my favor." But there's so many different reasons that a line moves, right? Like especially when you get initial movement or if the movement is later, closer to game time. Um, and the fact that we're seeing the majority of the bets on Miami, I'm not too concerned about it. It's just sort of I'm viewing it as natural line movement. The books are just trying to adjust the market, but um, I love getting that extra half a point. I expect it to drop back down to 3 by game time. So I'm getting it early. I got it as soon as it moved to 3.5. But I think a lot of people tend to overestimate or misjudge the reason that lines are moving. And more often than not, it's natural line movement. And people love to say, "Oh, reverse line movement, this, that, and the third." But 90% of the time, it's just natural with where bets are coming in.
This is kind of a trap that I find myself falling into. As soon as the Ohio State Miami game dropped after Miami beat A&M, it opened at -9. I was like, "Oh, the Buckeyes are going to move. It's going to close at 10 or whatever." And it did, but I didn't really even think like matchups, and I lost the bet. I'm not saying that it's a bad outcome or a bad bet, but I think that's a common, over long-term CLV wins. Too. But it would, I find this in my own brain where if I'm thinking too much about the true odds, I can not think about the matchups in the tape, which is where I actually am pretty good at betting.
That movement was really weird too because it closed at 7.5.
Yeah, it went up
really
and down.
Weird.
It was all over the place. I got bad news for Dorm though. You are going to lose this particular bet. I think the Canes are going to win pretty convincingly. Ole Miss plays in the candy ass SEC. They have not been tested all year. Cupcake after cupcake. They get to play an SEC reject in the first round, and then they get to play a overhyped, fraudulent SEC champion in the quarters. And Miami's got nothing but piss and vinegar running through their veins right now, and they are absolutely loaded up front. I think Miami is what Georgia wants to be in their brain, which is a bunch of big nasties up front and a quarterback who used to play for Georgia who can manage a game and not get them too much in trouble. I think Miami's going to win convincingly. Miami is a team that could win it all. I think we talked about that, Dorm, at the first stream a few weeks back. They've got enough guys and they're talented enough up front and enough playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. If they stay out of their own way and actually hold on to the football, Tony doesn't play basketball dribbling the ball after he catches it. I'm expecting them to win handily in Phoenix and set up a home national title game. And the SEC will be boxed out of the national championship for the third consecutive season. What a world that would be.
After the Oregon-Texas Tech game on the way out, there were a lot of Red Raider fans. And I like to chirp a little bit. I like to get into it with them. So I was talking to my buddy, making loud enough so everyone could hear. And I was like, man, they really should just make the playoff a Big Ten tournament. That's all that really matters. I mean, there's only one conference in college football that can win the national championship. It's the Big Ten, year in and year out, especially now with the transfer portal. I mean, realistically, just give me the top 8 in the Big Ten and call it a day.
Everybody else can do that. Their little NIT. They can go play in Frisco or Nashville, go play Illinois State and have a nice consolation prize. I think that's fair.
Yeah, it's like the Big 12 doesn't. I mean, they just don't belong. They just can't perform with. Same thing with the ACC. Like Miami just cannot perform with an SEC team, especially with a horrible quarterback who turns the ball over like no one else.
The SEC gets 5 teams in the 12-team field. We're down to 4, and they only got 1 left, and only because the only time they're moving people forward is when they're going SEC versus SEC. Yep. I'm counting Tulane as SEC light. They were a founding member of the conference. Ole Miss beat Tulane. Bama beat Oklahoma. And then Ole Miss beat, Georgia. So they're beating up on each other. It's classic SEC pyramid scheme. And I think they're going to get a hard dose of reality on Thursday night in Glendale. Perfect segue on the portal. I got a little carried away. The early champions of the transfer portal 2026, the Fighting Indiana Hoosiers out of Bloomington, Indiana. They're cleaning up in the portal. Everybody who's anybody wants to go play for Coach Sig. It's unbelievable the run they're on. They are 4-point favorites in the Peach Bowl against a very, very good Oregon Ducks outfit. Dorm, I know you're a big Ducks backer personally. I want to give you the first word. Well, actually, I want to give you the last word on this one. Ben, let's start with the prop market. What's screaming as you assess this matchup of two very balanced and complete teams that do a lot of things well and are extremely well coached?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting game. I think, there was a lot of movement today because Davison got ruled out with a broken clavicle, which was not known until this morning. So that caused Whittington's props to move a lot. So there's not going to be much value on that side. Honestly, I was looking into I was hoping to catch him sleeping. Didn't really get that, but there's one interesting thing in this game is so Indiana, they were playing without EJ Williams for a while, and so their rotation was Becker, Surratt, Cooper, and then 2 games ago was the first game EJ was healthy. He played, I want to say he ran 5 routes, maybe 6, very much a reserve role, and Becker's been really good. EJ is considered an extremely talented receiver, still potential NFL level talent. So it's interesting when a guy like that comes back and Becker's carved out such a role. So I honestly, after seeing that first game, I was like, okay, EJ might just be kind of phased out because the offense is clicking with Becker. But last week, EJ got off to 15 routes. Omar Cooper got hurt. I don't know if you guys remember. Omar Cooper got hurt in the Big Ten championship. So he was a bit of a question mark, although he was full practicing throughout the week. He was not starting this recent week. He didn't play until middle of drive 2. But after that, they did a bit of rotation where EJ was actually playing. Cooper had 15 routes, which was a lot more than the game before. And it was about maybe above 60. It was probably 65, 70% route share. Becker actually lost routes. And it kind of makes sense.
But made some big plays down the field.
He made some massive plays. A great player makes some great plays. But it is a difficult situation for Indiana when you have 4 receivers that you want to play. Because they're not a team that's going to run. They're not going to run 10. They're going to stick to their 11 personnel, 12 personnel. They're not going to sit there and run 10 personnel, and it creates a difficult situation. And last week, as good as Becker played, made a big catch, whatever, he still didn't actually run that many routes. It was probably around 50%, 55% route share. And I hate to be that guy, but it's tough to produce week in, week out on low route share. And he's a guy that's due for some regression in terms of the routes versus the results. Amazing player. I think he'll get his chances this game. And I honestly am not fully certain about how they allocate the routes this week. But Oregon plays a lot of high shell. They don't allow many explosive plays for that reason. Becker's a big man beater. Not going to see a huge amount of the coverages he's been seeing the last few weeks. They're going to play a lot safer with that. So personally, a couple props, I was looking at Becker under 43.5 yards and Becker under 2.5 catches. I wouldn't say I'm overly confident on it currently. I think that there's a lot of variance with the route share, but at least on the Indiana side, I think Becker unders are a decent look. And then just something to note for the Oregon side. So there's a lot of confusion with prop bettors because of DeCorian Moore's role is it was decent last week, but he still actually didn't run a whole lot of routes. And you would think that his routes are going to bump all the way back up given the fact that he's top 2-round talent. But they started running a lot of 12 personnel with Jamari Johnson, which they were not doing the first 8 weeks of the season. It was Sadiq primary tight end, Johnson secondary. That's different now. Jamari's been really good, and they've decided to go the route of playing 2 tight ends more than playing more than playing 1 tight end and 1 kind of rotator. So it's interesting to see that. I don't actually think DeCorian Moore gains any more routes this week, or maybe they pull some off McClellan or probably not Benson though. He'll keep his share. So some interesting stuff to note. I would say be careful of the bait on DeCorian Moore. At 30.5, it's a really enticing line, given the fact that he's cleared that basically every game he's healthy. But he's not 100% healthy, and the routes probably don't go up much. So kind of just an offering to the people watching that Oregon's offense is a lot different now than it was at the start. So be a little careful on those props.
I love the analysis. One thing I've seen a lot in the sphere is, this is a perfect segue. Talking about this is the second time these two teams have played. They played in early October. The biggest difference that I hear quoted or cited is Charlie Becker playing a much larger role in the Indiana offense. And whenever you hear that kind of buzz going into a game, it feels like they underperform at game time. So I love the lean on that side of things. Dorm, take us to sides in Total Land. Talk about how because you've got some great insights going back to last year. Talk about capping rematches in college football, where they are few and far between, and they're almost always between good football teams because they only happen in the postseason. How do you attack the second game between two good teams in the college football game? And where are the numbers leading you in this one?
Yeah, first of all, I want to talk about personnel really quick to sort of piggyback off of what Ben was saying about DeCorian Moore. There's some question marks about whether Oregon's best receiver, Evan Stewart's going to play his first game of the year. He's been practicing. If you guys don't know, they've been without him. He got hurt early before the season even started, so he hasn't played in a single snap all year. By far their best offensive threat. He was wide receiver 2 last year to Tez Johnson, had a huge impact. If he comes back and he's fully healthy, it's going to make a massive difference. I mean, he's projected to be a first or second round pick. He's probably going to come back to college next year and play one more season, but like first, second round talent. I don't think he's going to play. They've kind of been saying he's been questionable for the last couple of weeks. I knew he wouldn't play against JMU because they didn't need him. I thought that he might go and just sort of run some routes against Texas Tech, but I think they probably realized they didn't need him there either. So I'm hopeful that he plays, but we'll see. From a revenge spot angle, I don't think it means as much as some people are putting into it. If Oregon was favored in this game, I think that it would say a lot. Like last year, Oregon beat Ohio State. Ohio State was -3 in the Rose Bowl against the number 1 team in the country as the 8th seed. Very, very easy. Massive trap. Everyone was on Oregon. Everyone lost. I think the line's pretty solid. I don't think there's really an error or any discrepancies that I'm seeing. To me, it just comes down to personnel. And fully unbiased. Fully unbiased. I am an Oregon fan, but if I don't ever bet on a team unless it's a plus EV bet. Oregon's just the better team. They have better players. They have a better coach. They're just flat out the better team. And Dante Moore had a great press conference about the Indiana game. And he said, like, he was too locked in. Like, he wasn't having fun. He was just too focused. And that led to him making mistakes. And he said since then he's grown a lot and just sort of like enjoyed the game. And we've seen that progression in him since then. Like from Indiana game to now, he's been playing incredibly. Even last week, a lot of people are, saying that the Oregon offense didn't look great, which they didn't. But Dante Moore looked fantastic. Honestly, the only reason that was even a ball game was because the center couldn't get the ball to him. I mean, he snapped it over his head like 5 times. So that game was not that the Texas Tech game was not as the score was closer than it was. I mean, that was a 40-50-0 ball game. And Oregon just allowed Texas Tech to stay in it. Oregon's just a better team. I mean, you're giving me, again, 4 points. This line's going to close at 3.5 or 3. You can go through every position on the field, and Oregon's more talented. They're better at quarterback. They're deeper at running back. They're deeper at receiver, way better at tight end, way better up front, way better defensively. I mean, you can go through every single position on the field, and Oregon's just superior. And I don't want people to forget that it's Indiana. Like I made a video. It's not Alabama. We're talking about Indiana, the Indiana Hoosiers, right? I mean, people are talking like it's the Ohio State Buckeyes prime or LSU with Joe Burrow. This team should have lost to Penn State, a bad Penn State team with a backup quarterback and no coach. They're not. Everyone's talking like they're invincible. Like this spread should be 2.5, 3. You're giving me an extra point and a half. I'm going to take that all day. Oregon's going to win outright. Sprinkle on the money line. Give me both dogs on the money line. It's been a doggy playoffs too. So I think the trend continues.
The spicy takes are here, and Dorm is not backing down. First of all, I have a ton of respect for both these teams, both these programs. I have outstanding futures on both of them to win the national championship. I got Oregon plus 10,000, I think, boosted. Thanks, Bet Rivers. You guys rule. And
it's a good wager. Good EV on that.
Good EV. Checks out. Check the math. And I got Indiana right before Big Ten title game kicked off, like plus 390. I didn't have time to shop it. It was a total YOLO bet, but it looks good now. Indiana's legit, boys. I know Nick likes to, pound his chest. They're the Hoosiers. They're not the Nebraska Cornhuskers like we got over there in the bottom of the screen. There's a lot of NFL dudes on that team. They're deep at all three levels. They're well coached. They're having fun, not like Dante Moore being a sad boy talking about trying too hard. Either team can win this game. They're both outstanding. Indiana's giving me 2023 Michigan vibes. They're not as talented in terms of first round NFL dudes, but they just look better every freaking week, and they're getting better as the season progresses. So I'll lay the points. Maybe I'm a little emotional because the Roses were in the air in Pasadena, and I was there saying this is the greatest day ever as a longtime Indiana Hoosier fan of at least 2 years since Signetti showed up. So let's just take a moment right now to say what a blessing it is that we have two competitive, tight spread games in the college football playoff Final Four. We're living in the good old days. People like to complain about college football constantly, but these are two awesome matchups. Yeah, I'm excited. I just hope both teams have fun.
Yeah, I think Indiana's flying a little too close to the sun. I mean, you kicked the shit out of Alabama 31-3. But I think that there's just so much recency bias with Indiana. Like, I've never seen anything like this before. Like, barely beat Iowa, barely beat a bad Penn State team, and didn't really look good against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. Like, I bet on Indiana plus the points against Ohio State and money line. And the entire time I'm watching the game, and I'm like, there is no way they win. Ohio State's just better. Like, it felt like one of those too good to be true. Like, somehow they're going to blow this at the end. And again, if Ohio State doesn't miss a chip shot, Indiana probably loses. They could easily have 3 losses. And I know it's if, but everyone's sort of talking about this team like, they're Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, LSU. They're just not. I mean, they're just not. Like, that team was unbeatable. Indiana is very beatable. And I think Oregon is just better, and they're better coached. And not just like head coach, just there's a reason that the OC and the DC are both getting head coaching jobs, while at Indiana they're not. And Signetti's just too focused on the portal right now. He literally said that time has been taken away from their Oregon prep because he's been having to, stick his head in the portal and get Josh Hoover and Nick Marsh. He's focused on next year as opposed to, the most important game of his career. But we'll see. I mean, I'll be there. I'll be there for the Ducks W. Yes, sir. And then I'll be in Miami too for the Natty. I'm excited. It's gonna be a hell of a game, but Oregon's gonna win.
Hopefully you can. Ben, you came off mute.
Oh yeah. I mean,
what do you got to add for us?
I want to talk about this game because I think it's a very intriguing one for just as a Big Ten fan, it's just I want to talk about. I think at least how I see it is Indiana has a personnel that is difficult for Oregon because Indiana, like, they get overlooked a lot because they're not flashy. They're not flashy at all. They're like the opposite of flashy, but they have the recipes that make it easy to win games, and a lot of it goes like their entire offense they're not pass first at all. Like, they are all run first. Their entire offense starts and ends with the run game. So like nearly 50-50 splits, very, very balanced attack. Oregon for a lot of this season, not a great run D. In fact, they're one of the heavier run funnels in college football for a team of their stature. Most teams throughout the season opted to run the ball into them, and it worked for a lot of teams. They were a complete sieve for a lot of the year. But obviously their secondary is great, and they have talent on all sides. But their rush defense, and a lot of it has to do with the way they play their coverages, but it's a little dicey. So they're going to have to adjust a lot this game. And when a defense has to change what they're doing in order to adapt to an opponent, like it's a little bit out of their comfort zone. Because if they play their normal shells, they're going to struggle into the Indiana rush attack. Also, I think people read too much into they read too much into the fairy tale story of Indiana instead of looking at them from objective lenses. And if we're going to talk about games like the Penn State game, I mean, Oregon squeaked through Penn State.
Oh, much different team though.
Talk about barely beating Iowa. I mean,
much different team, but
Oregon.
I mean, in all fairness to Oregon, they just squeaked by Iowa. I mean, we're talking about very, very similar common opponents.
How about in Austin when Indiana put Dylan Tiedemann into freaking ICU running his ass over in the end zone?
Yeah, it's I think Indiana gets called a fairy tale story when they're not. At least the way I've always felt about
dogs.
them. And they're stacked top to bottom, and their offense is not like they're very difficult to deal with because if you can't stop the run, you will lose this game. And I mean, Bama's a solid rush D. It's not even like they're bad, but Indiana has a very strict plan, and most teams have not found a way to stop it. I think the main thing is I don't trust Oregon's rush D, and that may cause issues. So I don't know. Like, in all honesty, I think the line's fair. I'll probably play a little bit of Indiana. I think the line's fair. I think 3.5 is like when you lose to a team, you get a lot on tape. That's really useful. And I'm sure Oregon has a lot on tape from that first matchup that they're going to be able to utilize. I don't think Evan Stewart's going to play. If he plays, it'll be about maybe 5 routes, 4 routes. They'll probably put him on the DeCorian Moore schedule because that's what they did with him. And DeCorian Moore what came back even sooner. I would assume Stewart's out. I think they're going to play with the same personnel. And if he plays, I'd assume it's not much. I think the main issue is the trenches for Oregon here. I think it's just
that's a challenge. If Dan Lanning is listening to this stream, he just put it on the bulletin board.
Indiana does not. They do not care about. They do not care about playing through the pass game. The pass game is a component of their established run game. And even though BB's gone, it really just does not change much for them. I mean, Black and Hemby 2-man stack has been good enough for them. So I'm kind of leaning on the Indiana side. But
as we're talking, I'm kind of leaning on the over. Like I don't think Oregon's going to stop the run game, but I think Oregon has, to Dorm's point, they played a very sloppy offensive game, and they could have easily put up 50. I don't see them doing that. I don't see them being that sloppy 2 weeks in a row, especially with all the bulletin board material Lanning is going to. So if anything, I'm as we're talking about it, I'm kind of liking that over sitting there at 46.5. I can see this being like a 31-28 game where it's like who gets the ball last, similar to what we saw at Happy Valley for both these teams when they played Penn State at Penn State.
Yep. I'm not too worried about Indiana running the ball. The last time they played, they averaged like 3 yards a carry. Not going to be a big deal. We saw what Oregon did against Texas Tech. I mean, just dominated against the run. Texas Tech had one play. One play, that's it. It was a broken play too. Stopped at the line of scrimmage and he bounced it outside for 50. I'm not worried about that. And if you look at Fernando Mendoza's splits against bad competition and he's not good against good competition. He hasn't been good. And I just don't think he has that dog in him. I mean, crying every post game, it's just, and I mean, this game is for number 1 overall pick. Pretty much, right, in the draft. I think Fernando's gonna get the first overall pick, but I don't trust. I trust Dante Moore more than I trust Fernando Mendoza down the stretch. He's just more proven. I mean, Fernando obviously had the one drive against Penn State, but that was more of an Omar Cooper absolutely ridiculous play than a Fernando Mendoza did something crazy. But I mean, we've seen Dante Moore tested over and over and over again. He makes his best plays down the stretch in games. The throw against Iowa was probably the best throw this season. So I'm not worried about Indiana running the ball at all. And if you just look at common opponents, it's so similar, right? Like Penn State, Iowa, every team they played was such a similar outcome. And Oregon were big favorites in the first game. I mean, a touchdown favorite. And the line moved towards Oregon as well. So it's a really big shift. Yeah, Indiana's the number 1 team in the country. I just think they're getting way overhyped. They're not 4 points. I mean, these, especially on a neutral site, they're not 4 points better than Oregon, especially with how well coached they are. Dan Lanning, only coach in history, first 3 years, 12+ wins. Cignetti might get there. He's gonna have to do it next year, but yeah, it's gonna be an unbelievable matchup. I'm feeling very confident. I was extremely confident for the Texas Tech game. I knew that was gonna be a blowout. Texas Tech offense and defense both better than Indiana. So I know they're playing in the Big 12, so you can't really compare, but I'm not too worried about it. I think that Oregon wins by a touchdown.
We could talk about this game for 5 hours. Let's head to the pro game. It's going to be an epic game on Friday night in Atlanta. We'll go rapid fire here because we're running short on time. Let's just go like maybe day by day. So Saturday, Wild Card Saturday, one of the most fun weekends of the calendar, by the way, for my money, in terms of tons of interesting games. Football's on all weekend, and it's like one screen football, which is super fun. Saturday, we've got the Rams headed east to face the 8-9 Panthers. I'm seeing this as Rams as a 10.5-point favorite on the road. Total sitting at 46.5. Man, and then it's the Saturday night rematch at Soldier Field. 9-7 Packers against the NFC North champion. Thank you very much, Chicago Bears. And even then, the Packers are favorites, laying 1.5 on the road. Totals at 45.5. Rematch from the game of the century. Let's start with the Chicago guy. Ben, what do we like? Bears Packers most anticipated game in the history of football.
I think it's interesting seeing that line. I think a lot of it has to do with what the Packers needed, which was rest. A lot of their offense running through Josh Jacobs. He's probably still hurt, but he can't be more hurt than what he was 3-4 weeks ago. So there's a lot of respect being given to Green Bay, given the fact that they have an extra week of rest, essentially. I think that's big. It'll definitely factor a lot this game. I am curious on if Rome plays. It seems like he will, based off what I was reading. It seems like Rome's going to play. So Bears going to be fully healthy. Personally, I don't have any props I've been attacking in this game yet. But I am noticing that Emmanuel Wilson's lines are moving down a lot, which means books have a lot of confidence in Josh Jacobs' health. So it's interesting to think that the Packers, I think it's a bit of a trap line. As much as I'd like the Bears to win this game, I would not feel confident clicking them as underdogs in this game, simply because that extra week of rest for a team that's really, really struggled with it is pretty important. Like, they're coming off a bye week, essentially. So, yeah, I personally, unfortunately, I don't have any plays in this game, but I do think I would be careful of clicking the Bears in this game.
Dorm, please tell me something better than that. More optimistic for the Bears faithful.
Really weird line movement. Bears opened at +1.5. They moved to -1, then -1.5, and now back to +1.5 in all matter of a couple of days. I think the earlier game is what I like a little bit more. The Rams Panthers. This game just happened. The exact same game. Rams in Charlotte against the Panthers. Same exact spread. Panthers were +10. The Panthers won outright, 31-28. I love the Rams minus the 10 here. I absolutely love this spot. I mean, a double-digit favorite in a playoff game against a team that you just lost to. I absolutely love this spot. I don't really like anything in the Packers Bears game. If anything, I would lean the Packers, but it's not going to be a play for me.
Super interesting. Super interesting. Let's speed on to Sunday. Bills at Jacksonville. Bills are 1.5 favorite. Totals at 52.5. 3:30 slate. Niners at the Eagles. Tough draw for San Francisco. Eagles 4.5-point favorite. They seem to be clicking at the right time. 44.5 total. And then the night game, Chargers, another tough draw. Headed east to Gillette Stadium to play the Patriots. Patriots are 3.5-point favorites. Total sitting at 46.5. Get us started on sides and totals, Dorm, and then we'll kick it over to Ben for props.
Yeah, my favorite play of the weekend is Bills money line against the Jags. I love road favorites in the playoffs, especially when they're the lower seed. It just screams that the books are showing them a lot of respect. And to me, this weekend is all the games are going to play out similarly. It's going to come down to quarterback play. I think a lot of times in the playoffs, it comes down to defense. But at the end of the day, just perspective wise, as you know, as a Bills fan, going into the playoffs, I knew we would lose to Patrick Mahomes every single year. It didn't matter how good we were and how bad. Like the Chiefs were bad last year, and I knew we would still lose. Mahomes had his best game of the year. Now, everyone's got to come see Josh Allen. I mean, he's the best player in the NFL. I will absolutely take the Bills over the Jacksonville Jaguars, who again are a paper tiger. A little bit fraudulent. I'm getting the fraud radar going off. So I really love the Bills in this spot. That's my play of the weekend. And also, Bills to win the AFC Championship. It's like plus 550. That's also free.
Yeah.
They have a relatively easy path. I mean, most likely the higher seeds are going to win outside of the Bills. So it'll be, they'll have to play the Broncos, who they beat 30-6 in the playoffs last year. So they should walk relatively easily to the AFC Championship game. So I really like that. The other two games, I don't love a ton. I trust the Niners offense more than I trust the Eagles offense, which is weird to say after they just got embarrassed by the Seahawks. The Eagles it is reminding me a lot of the Eagles from 2 years ago when they lost to the Bucs in Tampa. They're giving me that same type of vibe, sort of limping into the playoffs.
Checked out a little bit, questions about the staff.
They just haven't looked like the defense is great, but the offense just hasn't looked good enough. And I think that Niners offense has a big rebound. I mean, before the game against the Seahawks, they were firing on all cylinders. Like you saw the 3 or 4 games before that, 40 points a game. It was insane. So if I had to take anything in that game, it would be the over. I think it's a really good spot. The Niners are going to score points, and the Niners defense has looked really, really bad recently. So I do like the over. I expect it to tick up a point or point and a half before game time.
Before we send it over to Ben to cover the prop markets, as Nick was talking about the Jags, as a tortured Bears fan, the parallel that was playing in my brain that I'm getting like Liam Cohen, Trevor Lawrence energy is like kind of like Matt Nagy, Mitch Trubisky energy when they had that 1 year where they won some fluky games. They did a bunch of fluky stuff, a lot of locker room videos.
Yeah.
They play a very battle-tested Philadelphia Eagles in the wild card weekend, and they lose. I'm getting that same vibe. And then they're not really back. Like I know the Duval folks are really feeling like they're never going to have a losing record again, but I'm not really buying what they're selling. And I think the Bills are probably breathing fresh air to see no Chiefs logo in the bracket. And we got to go play on the road in wildcard weekend. Let's go hang out in Jacksonville. I don't want to be in Buffalo right now. Fucking awesome. Let's go
and
kick some butt.
Over the Jags last 7 games, they've played one good team, the Broncos. Yeah, they won the game in Denver, which was an impressive win. But outside of that, it was Cardinals, Titans twice, Colts twice, Jets. They just haven't really had to do anything over the last 2 months of the season. So I would be very nervous if I was a Jags fan. Again, just flying a little too close to the sun. As high as you can be, you got to come play one of the best football players ever, the best quarterback in the NFL. The defense has looked incredible the last 2 weeks for the Bills as well. So, yeah, love that spot.
Ben, what do we like in the prop market? Anything you're sinking your teeth into? You've been a little non-committal on the stream. Give us something you really like, or is everything just so tight this time of year?
No, there is something I like. So I actually, I might pick one side for the stream. And I also might pick a prop in the same game.
Let your hair down, young man.
Yeah, I like Pittsburgh on Monday night.
Love the segue, by the way. Get us to Monday.
Yeah. I'm just gonna hop over to what I like for the football weekend, just to cut to the chase. We're running a little on time. So, I like the Steelers for a couple of reasons. One, it's a team that has drastically transformed their offensive cohesion from start to finish. They've gotten a lot healthier. They've looked a lot better in that same time frame, given those reasons. And the issues with Houston is their run game is fairly lackluster, and the Steelers have a pass rush that can punish this Houston offense, especially with TJ Watt healthy again. I think 3 is a little crazy for a night game in Pittsburgh. Going to be really cold probably, and Rodgers is a very good win one game type of player. Very good clock manager, very good game manager. When it's all on the line, I do prefer the Steelers in terms of how they're coached, in terms of how they play. I think that getting Metcalf back is also big as well. I'm a little surprised to just see 3. I really would have expected like Houston -1.5. I'm a little surprised to see +3. I don't know what it currently is on all the books. I'm just looking at like a very recent number, but I do like Pittsburgh. And then a prop I like in that game is I like Kenneth Gainwell under 5.5 receptions. Best line you can get, DraftKings -134. Main reason, Aaron Rodgers or Gainwell's matchup last week was solid. He had a good, even though I was on his under last week at plus money, it was a pretty decent receiving matchup for backs. But the difference this week is, one, the matchup's not as good. Pretty average target share allowed to backs from Houston. Plus, into the pressure rates of Houston, similar opponents, he really hasn't gained much receptions. Honestly, my biggest thing is that Aaron Rodgers' comp line is at 20.5. He has had 23, 23, 27, 21, 31. He has cleared his line the last 5 of completions. Gainwell's done really well in that time. But, unfortunately, Gainwell's lines have went up, and Rodgers' comp line isn't going up, and the matchup isn't that great. And I personally think the spread should be more Steelers favored. So I think it's a little inflated. I think 5.5 is a decent under. His route count's good. Like, there's a lot of things that support Gainwell to get a lot of catches in this game. But I think the line has flown a little too close to the sun, as we've said previously in the stream. And it might be a good time to buy high, or like buy high on an under. So yeah, Gainwell under 5.5 catches on DraftKings. Yeah.
Made a critical late game penalty in that Sunday night game of the year too. You got to wonder if that alters his role in the game plan.
I think personally, I don't think he's a knock on Gainwell's role. His role is very good, and they trust him a lot. I don't think that changes. I think more so it's just a situation where if Rodgers gets anywhere near that 20.5 comp line or goes under it, I mean, it's going to be hard for him to get 6, especially with Metcalf back. It takes a little bit of target share off his hands. They played a very heavy underneath game because they're downfield threats, and they were running out MVS Thielen, and
Calvin Austin.
Calvin Austin. So a lot of their offense was revolving around shorter passes. And into cover 1, covers that he gets a lot of receptions. So I think with Metcalf back, it'll also open up the vertical game a little bit, which will keep Rodgers from always looking short. So yeah, a lot of reasons for me to like Gainwell under receptions. That's kind of where I'm at in that game for sure.
Mike, if you weren't with me at 9-8, don't be with me when we're 10-7. Tomlin rolls into wild card weekend.
Yeah, I think they win. I think they win.
They haven't won a playoff game in like a decade. And as you're talking, I'm starting to believe you. Storm, you got anything
I think they have a pretty decent shot at this one.
Steel City, Yinzers, Texans. Interesting matchup. 2 very good defenses.
I like the +3.5. The line's already shifted down to it's open at 3, moved to 3.5, back down to 3. I do like the Steelers in this spot. Again, I actually, when handicapping this game, I had it at 1.5, just like Ben said. So I like that spot at +3.5, especially getting the hook. If you can get the hook,
take some action on it for sure.
Yep, I like that spot. I trust Rodgers more than I trust CJ Stroud. People sort of remember his freshman year when he balled out, and he just hasn't been the same quarterback since. Obviously, the Texans' defense is exceptional. Riley Leonard kind of threw it all over him last week. And I think DK Metcalf coming back is a bigger deal than people are talking about. The fact that they beat the Ravens without DK, without a vertical threat, really just checking it down all game. I think DK coming back, which whether he should be allowed to, is the fact that he's allowed to play is crazy to me, but he is, and he's playing. So I think that's a huge deal. And I'm not saying he's going to have a big game, but just his presence changes everything for the offense. It makes you have respect for the deep ball. And it's just going to open everything up, especially in the running game. I've been saying for years, Jaylen Warren is a top 10 running back in the NFL. Even when Najee was there, my roommate in college is the biggest Steelers fan. I'm like, dude, Najee sucks. Jaylen Warren's so much better. He's looked amazing. Kenneth Gainwell's looked amazing. I think the offense is playing the best it has all year. And I love the Steelers defense in a primetime game. Again, night game in Pittsburgh, 3.5. Similar vibe to the Ravens game. That means that the books are saying the Ravens are just as good as the Texans, if not better, which is weird to me. So, yeah, I think that the books are telling you who they're respecting in this one.
The more I hear, the more I want to bet on the Steelers. What an epic stream. We went long, but you guys were freaking on fire. Before we go, remember, if you want to check out Dorm a week for only $25, the link is in the replies. This is a time of year where I know he prints. DFS Dojo, 55% off everything. They cover NBA, they cover college hoops, a ton of value. These guys are extremely sharp, great researchers, especially if you like props, daily fantasy. For my money, probably, especially with the college football playoffs now, this is, if not the best, top 3 football watching weekend of the year. So wherever you like to watch football, load up the card ahead of time so we're not chasing live. Go listen to the full stream and enjoy, because before you know it, blink, football season's going to be over and we're going to be wishing us back. So just go enjoy this magical weekend that we get to soak in the glory of so much good football action. Parting thoughts from my esteemed co-hosts, guests.
You can go first.
No, you got it, brother. Go ahead.
All right. I was just say, yeah, Lewis, thanks for having us on. Hopefully we get a Big Ten national champion. Hopefully they can bring it home for us. And yeah, hopefully honestly pulling for the Bears, even though I'm a little wishy-washy on them in this game on the stream. I'm hoping they bring it through. So go Bears.
Appreciate you, Lewis. Nice to meet you, Ben. Yeah, final thoughts. No matter who you like in the Indiana-Oregon game, bet them to win the national championship, because both of them will be big favorites, and you can get both of them at plus money right now, especially if you like Oregon. Miami's actually has bet lower odds to win the national championship than Oregon, but if Oregon plays, Oregon's minus 2.5 look-ahead line. So a little bit weird. It's just because they're favored against Ole Miss, so they're more likely to win the game. But if you like Oregon, I also like them to win the national championship at plus 350. Sco Ducks, Ducks money line. We'll see you there.
It all gets settled on the field this weekend. Amazing weekend slate. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and we will see you again soon.
Have a good one. Thank you both.